to start with taking a look at the issues between Saudi Arabia and the US at the moment in terms of the US dollar. And it seems like most of the world, much of the global south, is moving away from the US dollar. Although they say it won't really take full effect until maybe another 20 or 30 years. But in this particular article, well, the article is called US Pressures Saudi Arabia to Sell Oil in Dollars, Not Chinese Yuan, amid Israel negotiations. So the US is in negotiations with Saudi Arabia and Israel because they want Saudi Arabia to give some kind of official recognition of the state of Israel or start some kind of diplomatic relations with Israel. But because of the Palestinian issue, most of the Middle East, not just Saudi Arabia, is quite reluctant. So in this recent journey to Saudi Arabia, the US is trying to encourage Saudi Arabia to reform some kind of relations. Although they say that Israel is supposed to give some concessions to the Palestinians. But one of the main issues of the journey is to discuss the issue of the use of the US dollar in terms of the oil sales by Saudi Arabia. Because the US dollar is based almost primarily, not primarily, but is one of the main components of its strength, is the fact that all oil around the world is bought in US dollars. So every country that wants to buy oil has to use the US dollar, or they have to accumulate US dollars before they can purchase crude oil. But in recent months, in particular since this war between Russia and Ukraine, you find agreements being made between certain countries like India, China, to purchase oil in either Chinese currency, as in the case of Russia, in the Russian ruble. And India is also making arrangements with Russia to purchase oil at a cheaper rate than the normal rate in their own currency. So there's a shift in terms of the use of the US dollar around the world, even though it's quite slow still. But since the 2008 financial crisis, many countries have realized that the US dollar is not as stable as they thought it was, or it's not a reliable source in terms of a global currency. So countries have been looking to move away from this currency. And then you have the BRICS group of nations who also want to form their own currency. And even across the continent of Africa itself, there's talk of forming regional currencies. For example, in West Africa, you have the ECO, and there's even talk of an East African currency. But both of these currencies are held up by the fact that all the nations within that will use that currency, the inflation rates have to stabilize below a certain rate. That's what has caused the delay. Some countries in East Africa, I think they're talking about this currency won't come into effect till around 2027 or around 2030. And the ECO in West Africa is the same issue, the same problem. The economies have to stabilize and become somehow aligned before they can formulate this currency